Thanks for the opportunity. I think it's really terrific that we now have so many low and middle income countries studies can provide the new insights. I think everybody in this room knows that the most rapid aging is occurring in LMIC countries that leads to about 2/3 of current dementia cases are in low and middle income countries. And this projection is even greater. So I think it's not too difficult to understand why it is so important to study. So congratulations. We are all studying very important matters here. I think that is good to know. And as we all acknowledged the support from the NIA, now there are so many more studies that allow us to bring additional insights to brain health in many of the low-income countries. And today we were lucky to hear from both Malawi and Ghana and China. So I also like to encourage many of you to look into various other data sets here, and especially now, second wave of age cap is available for further investigation. I think when we think about the age cap, we talked a lot about how it allows us to really conduct a cross-country analysis and how it facilitates creating the comparable protocols in low and middle-income countries. However, I cannot overemphasize how important it is to consider the local context, the languages, and literacy. So I don't know, sorry. So it is actually quite important to pay attention to those issues. And what I like to do is just reflect a little bit on what this means when we look at all of those excellent presenters' findings and thinking hard on whether what we see on the numbers, can we really interpret that as similar ways that when we did it with US data or other high-income data, whether there are some linkers that we need to pay attention to better comprehend what we see from the numbers. So the first paper, that evidence from Malawi, is really terrific to look at the longitudinal data. That's the power of being able to track the changes over the decade. So we have about 1,000 samples from Malawi over age 45 and older. And when we look at the variations in cognitive decline, it is actually showing the decline. And to my nascent eyes, these lines are pretty parallel, right? So I started questioning why we need to start with a group-based trajectory if everybody's cognitive functioning is declining in a very similar manner. What I really see from this graph is the level differences and where people started in their cognition rather than the slope differences. So that was my original reaction, and that kind of led to the further results. And then when we look at this change graph, which I thought it is really very nice to think about the percent changes in and how it declines over age. So I think a lot of the scientists who is supportive of cognitive reserve will be delighted to look at this graph. It is showing basically those people with higher level of the level at the age of 45 keep maintaining that cognitive reserve and showing the slower decline than the others. And then if it is just the level differences, the multinomial logit analysis that's showing the group differences is just basically showing consistent associations in the level differences, right? The starting cognition level in age 45 would be lower for women, higher for education and SES, and we also anticipated the age effect. So what I think it would be worthwhile is, as we talked about it over the chat, really go back to cognitive domains and step back from the trajectory analysis and bring the looking at the domain-specific variations and see whether there is a different levels of or changes in across different domains of cognition. As I remember, our late colleague, Jack McCarter, told us that how the processing speed tends to age faster, while a lot of crystallized knowledge stays with us despite the aging. So I think that's the another next step of analysis that I would like to encourage our colleague Lei and the team to consider. Now, finally, going to the China paper, and I think it's very important to think about sex-specific risk factors. And Dr. Gao is addressing very interesting research questions here. But in terms of charts, I do worry a lot about the language. And this is the our team actually in collaboration with Linji Kobayashi, who's the author of this paper with Dr. Gao, who's working with Dr. Gross, we did look at the missingness patterns. And because the Charles team administered the test in Mandarin, there has been issues with the language. Those who are not Mandarin speaking speakers were not provided the proper test administration. And we did study these issues with the Charles HCAP, but we did not go back to all the way to the earlier waves of Charles before the introduction of HCAP. So what I'd like to urge Dr. Gao is look at the missingness patterns in main charts, because that has not been corrected. And we know that it is systematically biased with the languages. So before jumping into any conclusions, I think it is the homework that Dr. Gao has to do. And you could create and redo the analysis, correcting for these language issues, perhaps focusing on only Mandarin speaking respondents and redo the analysis. So I thank you for everybody's attention and congratulations on great work.